Hey everybody, Nick Blazier here. Messing around with OBS and recording videos at home. Wanted to see if I could get into doing this a little more. Um, there's been a lot of interest, I think, in pip counting and in keeping a running count lately. I think people ask myself and Mochi that quite a bit. Maybe it came up in Justin's most recent cash game match that he was hoping for some sort of video on that. I don't know what there is to teach, honestly. I think it's just practice. But I figured I'd give a shot at least at showing how I do it. James had posted a video doing his comparison count recently too. That was really interesting to me. I could see myself learning that for sure. It looks pretty simple. But frankly, like going through it, my main takeaway was like I couldn't do that over the board today. I'd have to practice it. I think all these are going to take some level of computation to kind of figure out, and you just get comfortable with whatever particular math you practice the most. I think so like some of the across the board checker stuff was like throwing me off with the comparison count, where in this it's always just one simple addition or something like that. But yeah, I'll start off just kind of showing slowly how I do it, and then maybe I'll play a game against the clock or something like that and kind of show what it looks like over the board and how I remind myself what the running count is and things like that. But yeah, one trick I end up using. So okay, if I'm opening with this, I know I'm going to be ahead 9 pips. So people talked a lot about how you deal with plus minus or leading, trailing. I usually just use the checker colors. I just go with white 9 after this play and remember it that way. And as we get into some sneaky spots, we'll talk about that. So this is a good one right here already. So when you get hit, that seems like the most complicated time to keep track of the running pip count. But I know I opened with 9. The trick that helps you with that is whatever point the opponent hit from is how many pips they gain. That's always the case. So this roll, since he hit from the 13 point, was worth 13 pips. So since I was ahead 9, minus 13 is black 4 now. And that's like a relatively easy thing to remember. Um, and usually I'm just kind of, if I get into thinking about the play and what I should be doing, I'll remind myself, just say black 4 a couple more times, black 4, and remember that way. So now it's going to be white 2 after this roll. Hopefully I'll make some mistakes and not think about it too much. Um, so white 4, black 8, or sorry, white 2, black 10. There we go. What else do we have here? Yeah, the doubles can kind of be, sometimes I count those one at a time as I go too, and just like it's easier to remember the 3 at a time. Um, but yeah, so now it's going to be black 2 again. And I think the black 9, I think the most confusing thing is when it switches sometimes as well, when you have to switch between the colors. But at some point you get to a point where black's just been leading the whole time, and you can kind of remember almost like when the difference gets higher, it gets easier in a way. But so we'll take a roll with black 9, and we'll go ahead and cover that. Black 5, and then 7 is black 12, right? So I don't know. Like I think the nice thing about this too, it can be helpful. Sometimes you have to think back to the roll and kind of add it if you missed that or if you're thinking about something else. Um, but the computations are relatively simple. I'm just adding 5 to 7, and then I was subtracting 4 from some number before that. Where like counting the entire pip count or counting some difference, kind of, I think you have to remember more. I think the what I'm gathering from people, the difficult part is maintaining this black 12 thought in your mind somewhere. And as I practice that, I don't know. It's not like a focal point. I don't feel like I have to think about it that hard anymore. I think it's just like I said, if I just kind of remind myself regularly, it stays. But it feels like it occupies a different part of my thought process, and I can think about strategy outside of that. So black 5 after this roll, because I'm not hitting anything, and now it's easy enough for me to think about, well, I'm stripped strategically, so I'm probably just going to run out to the 16, even though I'm trailing in the race, and keep all my structure in front of him. And then black 5, just got to remember that again. Um, so 8 is black 13. And a lot of these too, I think the nice thing about keeping the running count too is that before I even make a roll or make any play, strategically, I'm already thinking in terms of being down in the race every roll, like a significant amount, which, with a better board should make me more likely to hit here. If I happen to be ahead in the race in a position like this, then cubes feel pretty automatic. So I'm very like prepared for my next play, if that makes sense. I think it's kind of backwards too to count the pips after you roll and look at a play. It's like strategically the wrong direction. You should have the race in mind and kind of be using that as your first thought with your strategic decisions to come. 6-1, I'm going to be down 6 after this. So, but I don't see anything really than just playing save. So black 6, and then black 15 again. Ooh, that's nice. So reminder here, black 15, I hit from the 9, so black 6, and then 2, black 4. Does that make sense? Hope you guys can start to see that. That seems to be the big secret, kind of. So black 5, 6, hit from here is 2 for 8, and then the last one is 9, so black 9. And that's usually how I count something like double aces. It's just a little easier to count each number as one. But you can kind of split it into pieces. When your opponent's shuffling checkers, it gives you a chance to kind of see what's going on too sometimes. If they're deciding between hitting or not, I might try to remember that black's going to be ahead 8 with the dice roll, and if he hits here, it'll be ahead 9. I might just go ahead and calculate that while he's playing and figure out which one it's going to be. But again, like they're all relatively small and not a ton to worry about. And another nice thing too is while your opponent's thinking, or while it's not your turn, keeping this running count for me keeps me engaged with the game in a different way too. It actually helps me focus because I have to remember the pip count, right? I have to pay attention to what's going on and figure out which one they took. So I don't find myself like getting out of my focus. I find myself paying attention to the game a lot more this way. So black 9, black 6, black 11. This is looking good for us. Ooh, what do we do with this? So when they switch, sometimes it's actually hard to remember. It's white 5 now, of course. But yeah, I think that's one of the when it crosses 0 is probably when I get most confused or like have to remind myself to switch and things like that. But again, just with practice, it's really not that bad. It's a little easier when you don't have to think as much about who's actually leading. But here we go, white 5, even, and I'm still back. So, ooh, can I afford to run with this? This is some interesting strategic decisions. So after the roll, I'm going to be ahead 7. I don't want to be primed. I have the better board now, so maybe I should at least see the light, even though I don't want to be attacked here. And what? Just come in with it? Sure. Okay. Here we go with blunders. So black 7, 2, and then we hit from the 6 is going to be black 4. Sorry, white 7, black 4. Shot from the roof. Okay. Okay, so when we hit from the bar, it's always 25. So we went from black 4 to white 21. And then another 3 is going to be a white 24. That's one that we hadn't seen before. So that's kind of the last trick. I mean, it's the same as the where did you hit from? And you're hitting from the 25 point is the way you think about that. But yeah, so white 24 after the roll. Should have a cube coming. Sweet. And so I don't know, you might have to like think about exactly what the race was here or do some calculation to figure out if you have a cube here, if you don't have this running count, if you don't immediately know. So over the board, that can be really handy. I think when you get into defined state holding games, races and things like that, you don't have to pause and count the pips and then send a cube or spend any time figuring out if you might have one or not. You just know. And when the difference is 24 like it was there, I think this is something that Mark Olson and I have talked about a little bit. Almost always, it's hard for the race to be in this window where it matters exactly what the difference is. I know 24 pips is enough. I know an even race might not be enough, right? And then did it actually land in the middle? That doesn't happen that often. So if you just know that you're outside of that from having that running count, that helps quite a bit. I was going to mention too, I'm going to play from a position here. But so, I mean, it's not like particularly intuitive that this would be the case. But for me, I find a variant like Pasco Gammon to be a lot easier when I'm maintaining the running count as well. So if you know you start down 37, I think in a lot of these really complicated kind of many checker back kind of games, you're faced with a lot of questions about like which anchor should I hold? Should I start like playing safe or play bold? What kind of game am I in? And just having a running count in these kind of makes it really intuitive. Like I think like you, I don't know, it just makes it we'll like run through it and see if anything kind of comes up in this. But okay, so a fun one to start. 37 is going to be 8 is 45, 48, and then 6 more is 54. So I'm down 54 to start. This is not a bad roll. 51. And now I already know that, like, of course I'm going to keep these two anchors, but I've got a timing problem for a 1-2 game, and I probably need to do something about that, right? So strategically, I'm already able to think about these things. Maybe visually it's kind of apparent to a lot of players as well, but it helps me a lot to have that cue. So 51 is 56. That seems like a good roll. 56, 55, 45. Now we have some forward chances too. 58. The hit from the 13 is 58, and then 5 is going to be 63. And 2, 6. This is bad. What do we do with this? I guess we just come off here. So we're 55 now. That 8. 63 again. He escapes the prime. Yuck. Maybe we want to try to make this. And then do something like this. 57. 57, so 60, and then the hit from the 16 is 76. So, I mean, I don't know. You can see, like, I don't have to do that much calculation to figure this all out. And then just, like, remembering 76, it's just kind of, I repeat it a couple times, keep it in the back of my head, and I'm good to go. This is a great shot, 66. I think we've got decent timing for the 2-4 as well. 76 again, he escapes. 4-1 does not seem like my best. We'll do I want to break this? Sure. 71. 76. 72. 88. 80. We're going to have a good back game here. 85. 78. 87. And then this is going to be 76. I think we just want to release this entirely. He doubles with 3 points, so it's probably a take here, sure. 81. 75, 65. And so, I mean, yeah. 65, 74. 71. 80. And now it's going to get, or yeah, 71, 78. Okay. We miss, bummer. 70. 81. I don't know if I want to be there or not. 70. 79. 70. 78. 70. 73. 66. 69. 60. 71. 62. Okay. 74 or 73. It looks like I got off by 1. Cool. But yeah, I think you get kind of the idea there. And you can see like it's, I'm able to keep that even when you get in these kind of high numbers with doubles, you get used to how to calculate that. Like I think watching your opponent play some double fours quickly might kind of make it complicated if there's a lot of blots around and options for hitting. You might have to pay close attention to keep it, but I don't find it that challenging. And I actually, I would say at this point, I have a harder time not keeping the running count. If I lose it somehow, which doesn't happen to me too often, I'm like almost too lazy to have to go back and count the raw pips and figure out where I was in that. It's very difficult, and I trust it enough. It took me probably, I'd say, a month of practicing this over the board to really feel confident that my running count was going to be correct every time, enough to make cube actions. And when you run into, like I was saying, like races and holding situations, it allows you to make otherwise slow cube decisions very quickly. Like it's just an instant decision if you've got a racing lead or not and you know what it is. I don't have to stop to count the pips and figure it out. I don't know. I imagine that could be tilting for an opponent to just get an instant cube and not know what the race is yet. Those kinds of things. So even like late game hits where it completely changes the race, like you just know you get to just be on top of that aspect of the game and always have a strategic focus on the race. So yeah, I find that very helpful. I don't know if this helped you understand how you would actually do this. I think it just comes down to practice, like I said, and kind of confirming. You do it over the board, and then maybe when you get to an actual point where you really need to rely on it, you count to see if you had the right running count. But eventually, you realize that you're able to, like, just with practice, that you can keep it, and you trust it, and it's a very nice thing to have that way. And for me, I think it actually offloads quite a bit of thinking in a strange way. Like I don't know if you noticed while I was going through that, but I always know kind of what the race is and strategically where I should be at and what my challenges are. Um, and so I don't have to stop and add that to the equation. It's already at the forefront of the equation. I'm already thinking about it. So I find it very helpful. Um, yeah, let me know if that helped out. Thanks, everybody.